Hello, Mr. Thurley. This is the presentation from my final website. The website is titled A Different Way to View an Enemy of the People by Johnny O'Shea. This is a context-heavy website that attempts to prove why Mayor Stockman is the true enemy of the people in Arthur Miller's adaptation of the play. It is meant to provide a lens that emphasizes the suppression of free speech in the play and correlated to Mayor Stockman and his actions throughout the play. Through the lens, the reader can understand how Mayor Stockman was the true enemy of the people, as he used his political prowess to suppress Dr. Stockman's discovery and strips the doctor of his free speech. People with political power and social influence are the antagonists towards society because they can nullify the voice of most individuals if their reputation is threatened. When the idea that people cannot communicate freely is applied to an enemy of the people, a unique interpretation of the play can be formed. In this interpretation, Mayor Stockman is the antagonist because he used his political stature to limit modes of communication by directly confronting the press and interrupting the town gathering to suppress the findings of Dr. Stockman, so he would get re-elected in the upcoming election and maintain his political position. This part of the website is about the actual play, An Enemy of the People. An Enemy of the People evolves from a brotherly feud into a moral war between the scientist Dr. Stockman and his brother Mayor Peter Stockman. The concept of restriction of speech is explored in the play and occurred multiple times throughout the entire narrative. After receiving the results of his test, Mayor Stockman and Dr. Stockman get into a feud where Mayor Stockman claims, "You have no right to express any convictions or personal opinions about anything connected with policy. I forbid you as your superior, and when I give you orders, you obey." This is a blatant example of a politician attempting to limit what could potentially hurt their career. Later in the text, a similar scenario occurs when Dr. Stockman's meeting is interrupted by his brother. When the mayor claims, "Mr. Alaskan, I move that this Dr. Stockman be prohibited from reading his report at this meeting." Once again, Mayor Stockman is seen attempting to limit what Dr. Stockman has to say for fear of it hurting his reputation. The common occurrence of someone with power attempting to limit the communication of an individual for their own benefit exemplifies why Mayor Stockman can be seen as the antagonist of the play. Here, when you click on Arthur Miller's initial, here, you will be sent to a website that goes in-depth on his career and life. I included this in case anyone wanted further information on the author and to see if any of his life's interactions influenced his interpretation of the play. Down here to the left, you can see an image of Dr. Stockman getting yelled at by the townspeople and Peter Stockman standing above and behind them all. He is acting as the leader of the rally, which is trying to stop Dr. Stockman from talking. This page is named Real World Application because it provides a scenario where the government is limiting speech and expression. Sorry, it's loading. One article published by Radio Free Agent describes how An Enemy of the People was canceled in China because it threatened what their government was doing. While discussing the government reaction to sensitive themes of the play in the article, the author states, "Family members of dissidents have also repeatedly complained in interviews with RFA of police harassment of their landlords and employees. The Chinese government is restricting any points of discussion that they feel can harm their reputation and can be directly paralleled to an enemy of the people. Some people would consider the Chinese government to be the enemy in this real-world scenario because they are stripping away the rights of their people and limiting what they can do. Using that logic, Mayor Stockman is the enemy in the play because he is the one attempting to limit someone's expression for his own benefit." If you click this inviting button, you will be launched to a short YouTube video. The video is about Chinese population calling for freedom of speech after a man was silenced for trying to speak out about the coronavirus pandemic. The next page is titled Why the Mayor. It is meant to serve as a rebuttal to the idea that Dr. Stockman is the bad guy of the play. Throughout the page, evidence is provided that shows Mr. Stockman's true intentions were to keep his political stature rather than to actually help the town like he claims. Mayor Stockman claims he wants to suppress Dr. Stockman's research for the benefit of the town. However, while describing each character's true intentions, Barbara Vitello of the Daily Herald claims Peter's opposition isn't rooted entirely in civic concern. It also reflects his determination to preserve his political career and the brothers' long-standing sibling rivalry that erupts into a ferocious confrontation. This demonstrates that his true intentions may not have been as pure-hearted as the reader would assume. Mayor Stockman's primary concern was maintaining his political position, and he was willing to use all the power to do so. While describing the connection between populism and press freedom, Professor Paul Kinney declares any given programmatic party leader would seem to have an ostensible interest in suppressing opposed press outlets. The quote furthers the idea that politicians attempt to suppress modes of communication by using their power for their own benefit. When applying the quote to An Enemy of the People, it parallels between Mayor Stockman and the party leaders become apparent because of the mayor's interactions with the press. He goes out of his way to stop the press from releasing anything that can harm his chances of re-election and uses his power to make sure that the press does not publish Dr. Stockman's discovery, all for the sake of preserving his political career. The issue of free speech is the name of the next page. This page questions how real free speech actually is. There are many limitations to the First Amendment, and governing officials have power to limit speech. Because of this, free speech does not truly exist, and this page applies this concept towards an enemy of the people. Individuals with high status and a lot of credentials can manipulate speech itself to limit other forms of speech, and authority figures can alter their methods of communication to limit an individual's opinions. While explaining one of the shortcomings of the First Amendment, Wu claims, "The unfortunate truth is that cheap speech may be used to attack, harass, and silence as much as it is to illuminate or debate." The quote emphasizes that limitation of speech is rising in the world. It claims that the speech is a powerful weapon that can be used rightfully as well as wrongfully. When applying the ideas expressed in the article to An Enemy of People, Mayor Stockman is using the authority to limit what his brother can achieve. Another article that explores the development of free speech over the year by Professor of Journalism at New Mexico State University, Mary Cronin, claims they believed expressive conduct was a civil liberty deserving of broad First Amendment protection, largely free of government censorship, in particular when it came to matters of taste or content. When applying this concept to An Enemy of the People, it furthers the idea that Dr. Stockman should be able to communicate his findings without inconveniences. Both articles elaborate on the fact that governing figures have the power to limit modes of communication through a plethora of different methods, and that their intentions for suppressing an individual are to their advantage. This image in the middle is an example that free speech is a concept that people are raised to believe we have. The lady is told she has freedom of speech when her mouth is actually covered up, so she can't talk at all. This demonstrates that our perception of free speech might not be the same as the reality of it. This page is called Any Other Enemies and explains that Mayor Stockman was not the only one against Dr. Stockman and the truth. Most of the townspeople in the play were also against Dr. Stockman. They didn't let him speak at the town gathering and tried to quiet him before he even started speaking. Academic writer Roshwald declares, if the drama does not offer an answer to query, belonging and domain of political theory, it does point to the grievance of an individual who is right and faces a resentful majority, and thus becomes painfully alienated from the majority. This shows how fast Dr. Stockman was losing control of the situation. At this point, he has been suppressed by the politician of the town, and his reputation has been tarnished so much so that he is now considered the enemy of the people. The people of the town are also antagonistic in this play because they are sub-products of the political corruption that leads them. When the reader associates their negative actions with Mayor Stockman, it is clear that he is the main antagonist of the play. In conclusion, An Enemy of the People was articulately written to make people question the definition of the word enemy. It is possible to read the story and identify Dr. Stockman as the scientist who wants to hurt the town, making him the antagonist of the play. However, when considering the ongoing issue of free speech, it is possible to see the whole new story in a new way. Realizing all of the advantages that come with free speech makes some individuals cherish their ability to speak freely. Suppressing this beneficial concept through eliminating methods of communication can alienate people, and they will be irritated at the people attempting to strip their freedom of speech. When looking at an enemy of the people through a lens that emphasizes free speech, Mayor Stockman can be viewed as an enemy in the play because of his attempts to limit someone's speech by using power for his own beneficial gain. Finally, here is my citations page with all of my works cited.